Hello, my name is Lisa Bush and I'm with Central Square. And today we're going to take a look at the building permits application. Just so you know, at Central Square, we've got over 30 different integrated products. Building permits is one of those applications. We do share one database of names and addresses. So, as an example, if you get a call from one of your constituents, you can look up Lisa, you can see her building permit, her code enforcement violation, her license, her cemetery plot, any invoices you've sent them, tax bills, utility bills. Once again, one integrated view. We're also going to take a look at how you've got one integrated view of properties. So you can see for any particular property, all of that information, such as the owner, the valuation, and what activity has happened there. So we're going to focus today on the building permit application. And if you'd like to learn more about the solution, you've got my contact information. We can certainly set up a time to look at some of the other products. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here, and I'm going to bring up the main splash screen that you see when you log onto our software. As I mentioned, we've got over 30 different integrated products. The heart of the system is the financial system, but you can certainly pick and choose certain components. So if you only want building permits, you can get just that component. So let's take a look under the courthouse, and this is where we track information on things like tax billing, building permits, code enforcement. So all of those, what we call general government modules, are stored here. As I mentioned earlier, the heart of the system is that integrated database of names and addresses. Typically, what we do with most of our customers is we'll bring in information from the county, so you're always up to date. You've got the latest information on the owner, the valuation, or any unique information on that property. So let's take a look at a search, and then we'll jump into the building permits. The first would be, as I mentioned at the beginning, you've got one database of names and addresses. So if you get a call from one of your constituents, you can literally come here, do a quick search, find out their name, and bring in everything that's tied to that customer. You're not having to add this person 10 different times. So we'll do a partial search. So it handles, tell me as much as you know, and you can do partial searches. And this is where we bring up the information on the person themselves. So we've got that person in here once. I can look here and see that this particular person has several different tax bills. I can drill down and go look at the detail and the history on each one of those tax bills that we created. I can look at their utility account. Do they have any code violations? Once again, their drill down. I can look at building permits, licenses, animal license, business license, even any invoices you've sent that customer. So this is that power of having that one database of names and addresses. The last view that we'll look at before we jump into building permits is land management. Think of this as all those parcels that are in your community that currently the county has, and we're going to give you lots of ways to search that property. Do you know the address? Even the legal description, phone number, how is it zoned, the map code, lots of ways to search that property. Once you find the one you want, any activity that's tied to this property, we're going to be able to take a look at. As an example, um, we know physical information about the property, how many buildings, what's the assessed value, what district is it in. We even pull in from the county file the legal description, so you don't have to, leave your database and log on to the county. You can see that here. You can keep this as up to date as you want. Most of our clients do it once or twice a year, but it's totally up to you on how often you want to import that file. We even have a place here to track structure. So if your county tracks this information, we're going to be able to display it here. And probably the most important thing is the owner on record. You could have multiple owners, but we're going to know, as an example, who do you send that letter to? The mortgage company. Once again, that's important if you're using our tax billing. I can see any tax bills at this address, what utility account. So if you're using our utility billing, I can click here and go to that inquiry. So we just pull all that information together in this system. So think of the names and the addresses as that underlying database as you start growing and using other products. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at building permits. One thing about all of our products is the look and feel is the same. So the way we do our menus, we've got things that you might do daily under the daily tab. We have reports are here. We do keep unlimited history. All of our reports you can email, you can go to Word, you can go to Excel. It's just like a Microsoft product. Each application will have inquiries, once again, unlimited history, and then tables. This is where you get started. And especially in building permits, you've got lots of different types of building permits with different fees. And so we'll take a deep dive into that so that you can see all those different things you can set up for those different permits that you're currently tracking today. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. And I'll go ahead and bring this up. Once again, what do you know? Do you know the address, the property, the owner, the legal description, the status? Lots of ways to search. So I'll go ahead and just quickly bring in one and we'll take a look at an example. Okay, couple of things. One is if you look at the toolbar, it is like any other Microsoft product. So navigation's identical. It's going to be easy for your staff to learn how to use the software because it's very intuitive. Now, if you've got a question, you can literally hit the telephone and you can log a support call without having to call us. We know exactly what product, we know the menu, we know the option. Type in your question and let us know, would you like a phone call or an email? And it's that easy to get help. You don't have to stop. Even if you're working at night, you can log it. You're going to be first in line in the morning. So that's how that works. Now, a couple things on this screen. One is you've got an application number. You're going to have different types of building permits. And this is where those tables come into play. Look at what you're doing today. You call it what you want to call it. I'm going to show you how flexible it is to set up the fees for the different types, but you can have as many of these as you want. As things change, you just go into the tables and change it, and then it'll change going forward. So unlimited types, you can make decisions on, do you want it to automatically create the permit number? This little drop down on status, this is your code. You can have different statuses. I've got reports that you can pull out based on status. So if I want to get all the ones that are, approved, completed, holding, pending, all those different statuses, you can very quickly pull a list. Also on project type, I've seen clients use this for residential, commercial, or maybe a new subdivision. Think about how you might want to pull a report for all, like, even though there's different types of permits, like maybe from a certain area or a certain type you may want to pull in together. It's totally up to you. And the same thing with purpose. Now, we do track the date of the application, when it was issued. You can have expiration dates, the date it was completed, and so that happens here as well. If you look down here under project description, this is the actual permit. You can have a master permit, so you can have multiple permits roll up to a master permit. There's different ways that we can set up calculations, and we'll look at that in a second, but it might be based on construction value or area or different other factors that we'll take a look at, just flat dollar amounts or percentage of things. Now, if you look at this, I've got the address and a parcel number. I'm going to bring that in from the property file. So all that information, like the legal description, the structure, we're going to be able to, we've got that information here because we looked at that parcel ID and brought in the information because it's linked together. Now, you can set up different reviews and floor area. You define these. So certain things that you need to track, you can do that. Obviously, we're going to keep track of the final inspection date and the occupancy date. So if you have to do a letter, what we do with our documents, we do a mail merge with Word, and I'll show you that in just a second. You can also define, different floor areas, just things you might need to track on this permit. Now, under contacts, we're going to be able to track your contractors. So that one contractor's in here once. I can even pull reports by contractor. So that's that benefit of having that one database of names and addresses. Now, here's something you might want to consider. We do have an integrated business license. So if you're issuing a permit, you may want to check to make sure that this contractor has a valid, maybe plumbing license. So we've got that link that it can stop you if you use both of those and you want to turn on that warning. So if that's important to you, we do have a business license, which could be any type of license. Inspections. These are going to be set up where you can default those based on the type of permit. So in this example, I've got two. I can bring in the fees. And those can be set up in the table so that it automatically does that. You might have a certain inspection that maybe there's not a fee, but you just want to track it. So you don't have to have fees, but if you want to, we're going to do all that accounting. And keep in mind, we do have that integrated financial system if you want to have that flow into that. Now, if you notice here, we're going to schedule things. This is where when you want to put things on a schedule, you can go ahead and put a date. It's going to show up as a reminder. You're going to also track the date it was completed, did it pass, and you can have a drop down for your different inspectors. You may only have one, but it'll bring that person in. And right here under notes, you've got unlimited text to document that. So any keynotes that you might want to have on that inspection, you might even want to create an inspection report and attach it to the database. So we have the ability to attach documents. Now, under actions, this is where you're going to do key things like key events. These are your codes. You can put it on. So think of it as a log of events, what happened, the date. And once again, under comments and reference, it's unlimited space to document what did happen. So this just gives you a good place to keep track of things that are scheduled, the fees, and then you're documenting key events. Maybe you had to send them a letter denying that or rejecting the permit. So things like that. Moving on across, we do pull in the legal description. Once again, that's coming from that property file, so we do have a place to do that. Attachments. Anything that you can attach in an email, you can attach to your building permit database. Pictures, PDFs, all those things that you can do in an email. This is a perfect place. It's like an electronic file for this transaction. And here's another option. We've got some of our clients that actually want to invoice for these fees versus receipt it when you receive, recognize the revenue when you get it. So we do have a direct link so that if you did want to kick off an invoice, we could do that. And that's part of our financial suite. So those are the different tabs. So this is where if they were invoiced, we would know that as well. It all happens here. One thing I do want to point out is under letters, we do have the ability to, create, a building permit, but you can also do a mail merge. So we do have that ability where, you can have certain documents like a letter. You can define your permit in Word, and we insert in fields from the database so that it's custom to what you want. We're just simply using Word and doing a mail merge to merge in key data fields from the building permit. So that can all happen here. You don't have to learn a new report writer. It's Microsoft Word. We're just doing a mail merge, and part of the training is we teach you how to do that. So those are things that happen here. One screen that we're able to track literally everything on that building permit. Now, a couple of other things here under reports. We'll take a look at some of these. One first is this permit report. This gives you the ability to pull permits based on date range, maybe dollar value. Maybe you're looking for certain permits that happen within this time period, but this dollar amount. You're looking for key things, or certain types of permits, or certain projects. I want to pull in everything for this new subdivision. I can do it by address. So if I need to have all the permits for this address, I can do that. I can do it by owner and also contractor. Think about how nice it would be to pull in all the permits for a certain contractor. We've got easy ways to do that. It's all in how you select those fields. Now, once you do print the report, you're going to be able to print it to the screen. Notice at the top, this is true for all of our reports. You can email it, you can go to Word or Excel, or just print it. So very easy. So if you want to drop it to Excel, that's easy to do, or Word, and do something different with it, you can do that. Now, the status report. Remember, this is where you've defined what status is. So think of it of a way, I want to get all the permits that are this code, this status, very quickly pull from your database. So we've got that ability. We've got an age permit report, how many that are, 20 days old, 30 days old. Or here's one that you might want to run for your board meeting. Maybe they want to see everything that happened this month. So you could very quickly, or maybe a certain type this month. And this gives you more information on the fees, and it would be a perfect report for the board meeting so that they know what's going on in the system. So we break those fees out. So tons of reports. We also have this report, who needs inspections. Remember that date that we entered? So I can go ahead and let me enter in a date here. Oh, let's do, hang on just a second. We'll do today's date and see what we've got out here. So these are the different inspections that I have to do for today. So things that are on my list, so if I didn't get to them, they're going to show up so that I can go out and work my list. As I do it, I can, enter in that it was completed. It's going to fall off my list. So those aren't going to fall through the cracks. You're going to be able to very easily go in and find those permits that need inspections so you don't forget about them. We've also got, a report for ones that are expired. Maybe your process is you send a letter to the ones that are expired so you can run your list, go in, print the letters, do a note. So you're really tracking key events for these different permits. So once again, tons of reports. There's inspection reports. That all happens here. This inquiry here is the one that you get to based on person or property. So what it is you're looking at those permits, inquiry only, where you can't change. And this might be an area where certain staff, you want to give them access to this, but you don't want them give them access to the maintenance because you don't want them changing anything. So if you do that first inquiry, you're going to go right here on any permit so that you can see all that information that we looked at the beginning, but we just can't change it. Even attachments can be viewed here. Now, let's take a look at tables. This is kind of where it gets its flexibility. So the first thing I thought we would do is look at the configuration, and this is where you're setting up those user definable fields. How do you want it to create the number? Um, are you going to interface in with business license? We've even got some other user definable fields. So that's something that you would set up there. Now, permit type, this is the one where you're really defining all those different permits and the fees. So this is probably one of the most important tables that we have, and we'll take a quick peek at it. First of all, you get to define, what do you call it? You're not using our terminology. How do you calculate it? Notice how we've got several different ways. We can do just a flat dollar amount based on construction, based on the area, the value. We can have a stepped rate, from this amount to that amount. So kind of like a utility rate that you can set up. So let's say if I do something like that, I've got these tables that I can set up on a step fee. I'm also defining the GL information. Once again, that's part of our strong selling point is we've got that integrated solution. So things you do in building permits, they're going to show up in the general ledger. You're going to know that it came from building permits. So, but once again, if you want just building permits, you don't have to get the general ledger. Things about, if you've got a deposit, do you handle deposits? You can have, this is where you set up your inspection fees. What do you call it? How much is it? And the accounting with those different inspection fees. And as I mentioned, you might have an inspection where there's no dollar amount, but you want to make sure you track it and schedule somebody to do that job. So they don't have to have fees. We can have other fees. So there may be, in addition, other fees that you might want to put on this, and you have a drop-down list on different ones that you can set up. So all those different fees we can track in the system. And like I said, lots of different ways to calculate that. So this is where you're going to set that up. And as things change, you just come here and change it. You can certainly do that yourself, or if you have questions and need help, you can certainly call us. So down here, like I said, this is where you define, what are your other fees? What are your project codes? It's very code driven. And then this document link here, this is where you've got those Word documents so that we can do the mail merge. So any type of letter or notice, you can create and insert fields from the database to make it a very specific letter to that person. Or, maybe you want to do your own building permit form and input that information. So code driven, once you set it up, you're not going to spend any time here. And like I said at the very beginning of this presentation, this is one of 30 different integrated products. A lot of times when we have customers that look at building permits, they also like to look at, code violations, business license. So I've got other videos on those if you'd like to take a look. But once again, I'd like to thank you for your time. And if you'd like to learn more, feel free to email or give us a call. We'd like to follow up and get you that information. So thank you so much for your time today.